Welcome everyone. Today we're gonna do little chat with Alexandra, who I got to know for quite a few years back. She's one of the first students who did a course with us, and yeah, she's gonna tell us all about being a nanny. What does it take? The tips. What is good about being a nanny, and what is not that good? Something you should consider. So, Alexandra, do you want to go ahead and tell us what you do right now and how did you start?
So nannying, I started nannying for a family friend of my family. So not the official route. It was something I was going to do at college, just alongside my college for just a little while. And I ended up staying there for 4 years. So I started off when there was 2 children and I left when there was 4. And it was amazing. It was really nice. I didn't count myself as a nanny at this point because I was still quite young. I just got asked, "Hi, can you look after my children and I shall pay you?" And I said, "Yes, that'll be amazing." And I think what happened at the end, the family moved to Spain, asked me if not Spain, sorry, wrong family, moved to Dubai, asked me if I wanted to go with them. And I said no, because I still wanted to finish my studies. And the mum said, "Don't worry, you're definitely going to get hired as a nanny." I was like, "A nanny? What is a nanny?" So I had to go and do all the research, and that is how I came across London School of Childcare. And I, after this family, I did actually get accepted for a live-in role for a child, a 1-year-old girl, which worked very nicely alongside doing the courses with now LSCS. I keep accidentally calling you Hatter.
Yeah, no, that's what we used to call. Yeah, in the past, it used to be home-based. I can't remember. Home Affair Training Academy, because we thought that we're going to be training people who are working in domestic sector. But then after a while, we realized that there's so much more fun to learn about early years and that kind of thing. And we thought we're not going to go to other sectors. So we thought this is not the right name for us. So
I'm biased, but I'm glad that you stuck to the childcare sector.
Yeah.
But it was amazing. I think if anyone's looking at childcare courses, the one thing I would always recommend is shop around, because everyone's different. Like, we always learn that every child is different and they learn differently, and we're the same, like we all learn completely differently.
Yeah.
And I think I went to 4 different companies and I spoke to them, and when I spoke to Renata, it just felt like, yes, this was the right place for me to train.
Alexandra, we're not telling you to sell our courses. I don't want you to sell our courses. We really want to know about your journey. But thanks.
If anyone follows me on social media or my Nanny Alex page, they'll know that I do always, anyone that asks me training questions, I always send them your way.
Thank you.
I've massively benefited from the courses from you, and also friendships, because nannies, you can get really lonely sometimes.
That's true.
Through your training, I've made a lot of friends that I'm still in contact with now.
That's good. This is something that a lot of people say, because when you're working as a nanny, and even though you meet other nannies in a playground, or you don't really have a time, because you have to always look, where they are, what is happening. So it's always kind of in the rush. But taking that time and suddenly meet people who are like yourself, they know about the industry, because obviously it's very kind of small and niche. Not many people know about it. But I want to go back when you started, Alex, when you were working for this family. How old were the children, the first family? How old were they?
So when I started, the eldest was 6, and then the next one was 4.
Okay.
I mean, I have them on social media now, and they're like 18 and 16, and it's really scary.
Yeah. One of my charts, I saw her with Paris Hilton, and I was like, really? Is that my little girl? No way. So it's as much as I like to see them growing, it kind of makes you realize how time flies quickly and they grow and kind of move on. But so what, when you started, you obviously, they trusted you because they knew you. Yeah. So they said, what do you think you had? Why did they keep you so long? Why? Yeah. Why did it last
It's
so
the
long?
fine balance I've learned over the years between being mature and sensible and having a good head on your shoulders, but also being a child at heart. Is I
Mm,
didn't forget my role. My role is being with the children and being
mm-hmm,
on their level. Not at any point was I like, you can't do that. We can't get messy. We can't, or you go and play in the park. I'm not going to play with you. And I think that's what was so great, because the children
mm,
knew we come home, we'd do schoolwork, but Nanny Alex is going to go and play rounders with us afterwards. I'll
mm-hmm.
even go and play rugby, which I did get an injury from after a while. Once the boys got bigger, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Um, but I would happily go and play with them as long as we
Mm,
got the main core of the day done.
yeah.
And I think that's what's always kept me in nannying. And even now, I'm at university now doing a degree because I decided to try and further my childcare
Mm-hmm.
education. It's still really important. The degree
Mm,
heavily focuses on play and how important play is. Um,
mm,
and I think sometimes we can overlook that as child carers. And obviously
mhm,
we get tired. Like we work long hours, long days.
mm,
It is a really full-on role.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
but we have to try and stay young at heart and see things
mm,
from the child's point of view sometimes.
mm.
Well, not all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, there are terrible studies coming out that the children play, I can't remember exactly, but I think half of as much as we used to play.
Yeah.
And they believe, some expert, that there is a correlation between the issues we have with the mental health, because
Mhm.
we just don't play enough. It's in our nature. Play is, we're learning through the play, don't we? We explore, we connect. So
I think
so it,
anyone that has nannied for a long time,
mm,
like, will know that our old playing with children was going outside, playing rounders, doing football, getting messy.
mm,
And now it's like, oh, well, they want to play so they can go on their iPad for an hour.
mm,
It's trying to balance that. I actually say it's probably harder being a nanny now than it was 12
uh-huh.
years ago when I started.
Mm.
Mm.
And it's because it's very difficult to get children off their
Yeah.
tablets and devices.
And also to set the boundaries with the parents, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes families have their routine which you need to respect when you go into the home, but also you need to get them to see you as a childcare professional, and that you
Mm-hmm.
can see that maybe the child being on the iPad consistently when at home is not beneficial. Why
Mm-hmm.
don't we try and put something in place that we can join an after school club, or I can
Mm-hmm.
go to the park with you and play football, and then when we come home, whilst I cook
Mm-hmm.
your dinner, you can go on your iPad for 30.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the healthy boundaries, and you have to really be able to work well with the parents as well.
Yeah, that's one of the tough one, isn't it? The parents. How do you make sure you've got a good kind of relationship that benefits the children, and also, you feel comfortable? What do you do? How do you know, for example, when you start working with people, that, yeah, those people I can work with?
Mm. It's definitely been a learning
Mm-hmm.
curve. I think when I started, it was and I think all child carers have this. You have the need to please. You want your employers to be happy with you, and you want to help as much, but then you
Mm-hmm.
forget that you're actually going to have burnout and you're going to
Yeah.
suffer. But a lot of the time, we're happy to carry that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's about, in your interview, I always say you need to interview the parents as much as they're interviewing you.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, how would you put boundaries in place with your child if they do something
Mm-hmm.
wrong? Or do you have anything that you're worried about? Or what are some goals that we can work on with your child, depending on how old they are?
Mm-hmm.
And then to also not be afraid that after an interview, to say, well, let me think about it. I have a couple more interviews. And if
Mhm.
you feel that family is not for you, that you can turn around and say, thank you so much for inviting me in for an interview. I really appreciate you taking the time. I just
Mhm.
feel that I'm not the right nanny for your family.
Mhm.
That's not a bad thing, because
Mm.
no one wants to be placed somewhere where it's not for them, and then you're looking for another job sooner. You might as well just take that little bit of time to find the right
Mhm.
fit for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think at the beginning I was always very much looking for friends. So, oh,
Mhm.
me and the mum get on really well, or me and the dad get on
Mhm.
really well. Yeah, this is going to be great. But actually, how it ended was I had no boundaries, and
Mhm.
I was staying later. I was not getting paid. I would just do anything and everything to try and please the
Mhm.
family, but none of my needs were getting met, which was
Mhm.
in turn affecting me as a professional. Um,
Mhm.
Now it's very much this is what I'm looking for. I do have flexibility. I understand that I need to
Mhm.
get here half an hour early, 15 minutes early before my start time, so you can get ready and go to work.
Mhm.
I understand that you're not always going to be able to walk through the door at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m.
Mhm.
I have flexibility, but if you are going to be late, can you just let me know, so
Mhm.
I can arrange my evening? Or if
Mhm.
you want me to stay later, if you can just give me a bit of time,
Mhm.
again, just so I can arrange my evening.
Mhm.
Because your time is important, and the time
Exactly.
you spend on yourself will put you forward as a better child carer in the long run.
Mhm. Yeah, you cannot pour from the empty cup, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to find time for your family, for your friends, and for your hobbies, and for yourself.
And as
Yeah,
soon
and
as you feel you're missing out, and
Mhm.
you're at work and you're thinking, oh, I haven't paid this bill because I don't get paid enough here, or they haven't paid me on time, or
Mm.
oh, my nan's really sick and I haven't been able to take time off because I don't want to
Mm.
ask them because they really need me,
Mm.
or I've had to cancel all my friends this week. As soon as you're thinking about that in your work day, it's affecting you as a childcare professional, and therefore you
Mhm.
have to have that conversation earlier rather than later.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So give us the tips when you're going for interview. What kind of questions do you ask? Um,
Ooh.
what is important to you? How do you make sure, or is that something that you kind of feel in the air that you
I
know?
do it on. It does depend what roles you're going for.
Mhm.
So I've worked in the Middle East. I've worked for
Mhm.
high profile and high net worth families. And when you're going for these roles, you do need to understand that you won't have a life. It's part
Mhm.
of the package. If you're going for that role where you're on a high amount of money and you are on call 24/6 or
Mm.
24/7, um, you have to go into that interview understanding that that is why you're getting paid so much. Um,
Mhm.
it obviously doesn't mean that they can walk all over you and um, not give you warning for on your Sunday that you have off, they're not home or they just don't turn
Mhm.
up. Um, but you need to understand that there is a level of dedication to that family that you're giving over there and then. So in those
Mhm.
families, it's more, I need to know, the families I've worked for, they don't tend to be around very often. So it's more, I
Mhm.
need to know, how does your household run when you're not here?
Mhm.
What members of staff work in this household?
Mhm.
Um, who would I turn to if you are not here? So if you have a fully staffed household, there's normally a house manager that you could turn
Mhm.
around to and say, hi, quick question.
Mhm.
How can I don't know, I need to get the car from here to the little one's school. Can you help me
Mhm.
arrange that? Who do I need to talk to? Um, so there's always a second point of call, and also
Mhm.
how they wish to raise their children, through
Mhm.
like how you
Mhm.
work with them. And this is an important one. As soon as a parent is like, you work for us, that's when it's like a little red flag for me, because I know I work with you, do in a
Mhm.
way, but we're
It's a
working,
partnership, isn't it?
we work as a team.
Mm.
So some families are really big on especially high net worth families, reading, studying, education. So I really need to take that in and I absorb what the child's learning. So
Mhm.
I know about subjects I definitely learn more as a nanny for a 7-year-old than I did at school. There's times when I read through books, I'm like, wow, I didn't even realise this was a thing. The children educate me 100% more, but showing an interest in what they're learning and going away and doing your own research. If you're working for a not high net worth, not high profile, just a Monday to Thursday family, not just that's the wrong word, but that's still as taxing, Monday to Friday, and you tend to be maybe on a similar wavelength, similar level, you still need to put those boundaries in place. So in that interview, again, still asking, you know, when you're home and I'm home, so for me, if the parents work from home, and I'm sure so many nannies had this during the lockdown, it was important to put boundaries in place for especially the older children, who they're listening to. My employers through the first lockdown were really great, and they were like, oh, it's Nanny Alex's hours now, so you need to go and ask Nanny Alex. And it worked so well. And as soon as I was a little bit past my time and I was getting ready to go home, and maybe they'd say, oh, can I have another book? I would be like, oh, Nanny Alex is going home now, let's go and ask mum and see what mum says. And then we do the little pass.
That's a good tip, actually. Yeah. So it's like easy transfer, isn't it, for the child? They understand who is in charge. That's actually really great, because working with parents at home can be really, really tough. It's probably very tough with the little ones, who you can't really tell them this is your time and this is the parents' time. But yeah,
you need them to be quite firm as well, because there's some households you can work in where the boundaries are not clear, and as much as in the interview they've said, yes, we're going to say this is Nanny Alex's time, when it actually comes to it, the child's running upstairs to their office and refusing to get out. It's the first couple of times it happens, you do need the parents to be really firm. No, this is Nanny Alex's time, because otherwise they're not going to get no work done. And then they're going to be working into the night, even when you've gone home. So really, you're not working with the family at all. You're not taking anything off their plate. We're just adding to it. So sometimes it's great. Like there was one mum I was working with where I said, when I come in the morning, we'll go straight out to the park, head to a play group, come home for lunch. Then we've got nap time, as long as you like hide in your office, because as soon as she saw mum, it was all about mum. And then just as she was going to wake up from nap, mum would go to a coffee shop. So we didn't have to go out again if we didn't want to. We could stay and home. And that it just makes your life so much easier, and the parents' life easier, because they get everything they need to get done.
And in so, you know, at the end of the day, it is healthy that they want to be with their parents, don't they? Isn't it? Because that's a good sign they have a good relationship. So
make it clear to the parents, you're not taking that away from them.
So listen, you were quite lucky when you got because these people trusted you, they offer you the job, they thought that you're brilliant, so they kept you. But generally, not everyone's got that kind of opportunity. Do you have any ideas how to kind of start to work as a nanny? Because it's a very kind of niche market, isn't it?
It is hard to get into. I would say my first few nanny jobs were not the best. They weren't the. I think you know, actually. I think when
we all know.
When I turned up to you and I was like, please help me. I had a live-in position where I never knew if mum was going to come back or not. So I would be told that I was going home for the weekend, and I'd be put little one to bed, and then mum wouldn't come home for 2 days, and I wouldn't know where she is. And I did have to give him my notice at this later on. I felt such a need to stay for the child. I tried to speak with the mum, I tried to speak with the dad, and it was really difficult, and I just had to hand in my notice. But I know it's all, when you're in the positions you can't see outside, but they are all learning curves, and I definitely wouldn't be as confident as I am as a nanny today if I didn't have the really unfortunate experiences at the beginning. As soon as you have those unfortunate experiences, do not feel like you need to stay. You've recognized that red flag, there is my notice.
Yeah, and in this particular case, that was probably a safeguarding issue, isn't it? And probably today you would act differently, because as you were saying, you like to please, you're afraid, you know, you don't want to upset anyone, but at the end of the day, there is a child in
I had to, with that family, I mean, times have changed massively, but my way of doing a handover was actually with the family doctor who they'd been with for many years. And when I took the little one for her jabs, I just said, look, I'm leaving. These are my worries. I didn't really have physical proof of anything to go to anyone else in regards to safeguarding. And that was my way to keep it confidential, and he would have to keep an eye. So
the doctors or other kind of professionals, they understand, they trained what to do. So if you find yourself in a situation, there are plenty of websites you can, or social services you can contact in confidentiality, and if you're not sure, and ask, is this okay? You know, they will advise you, and you don't have to disclose your name, but you always should take this seriously if you worry about welfare of the child. So so you were quite lucky. So normally, in terms of, you know, finding the first job and stuff like that, and then kind of work your way out, not completely lucky with the people you work for, but it's just your journey kind of progress. So normally what we suggest for everyone who wants to start as a nanny is to start doing babysitting jobs in your area. Tell people around you, people who know you, saying, I really want to work with the children. Do you mind if I come and perhaps help you out after school with your children? And really see, because as you said, it's not for everyone. There needs to be, at the end of the day, little bit of child in you, and that play is so important. The way you talk to the children, the patience, the connection, right? The connection is one of those things that makes the nanny successful. And once you connect with the child, that's when learning comes. That's when you can, you know, work together. But if you don't have a connection, it's just not going to be very good relationship for anyone. So yeah, so this is usually how we suggest working as a parents help, taking more kind of hours if you want to later, helping mom who's got perhaps more children, or helping dad, sorry, the parents if they've got the more children. Now is a great opportunity. Parents work from home, so they're there, you know, if you need supervising. But you also have the opportunity to kind of experience what it is to be with the children, because it is not for everyone. It can be really tough job. So tell me, Alex, what is the thing you like the most about what you do?
I do love the playing. I mean, I've only really figured this out now that I'm at uni. I mean, adults are great, but they don't believe in fairies and they don't believe in pirates, and it makes it boring. There's just something about having such a good, healthy relationship with a little one where you can go into play mode at any point. So I would say the playing, the growth, seeing when you're there for even just a short-term position, you can see change. So I had a temp position through the second lockdown, and it was actually the first little one I worked with who was born in the first lockdown. So she was a lockdown baby, and she didn't have any socialization really, and she was highly anxious. And when I first walked into the position, I didn't really think about any of this. I was just like, family's great. They've been referred to me by another employer. Their nanny had injured herself, so I was just standing in for her, and that was it. And after my first week, I was like, oh my gosh, there is something wrong. And I couldn't put my finger on it until I just love to do research. So I would just go online and think about the age group of the child and do some research on playing ideas. And then an article came up about anxiety within children who were born within the lockdown. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is it. There's no play groups on. So I managed to find an outdoor play group, and it was in the summer. So this was amazing. And then I don't know if anyone's heard of, what is it called? Zen. It's yoga for kids, meditation for children.
We teach that on a baby massage a little bit. We don't do it too much, but we just can't touch it a little bit because it is really interesting. Yeah.
She would just get very, so most kids, when you're like, what do you want to do? And like, tell me what you want to play. You could see the anxiety in her face. She was panicked, and then she'd start crying, and it was like really heartbreaking because I was like, we can do Lego, but I don't actually think she enjoyed Lego. So I was like, I don't know why she's saying yes if she doesn't actually enjoy it. So I started to introduce quiet time, which was every time if she was getting really worked up and started to cry, I'd be like, do you want to have some quiet time? And we'd put on this kids yoga, and she'd sit there. And the thing was, is I noticed that she was never not quiet, not silent, but she was never just thinking. Like there was always something going on. So at the beginning, I think she lasted like 10 seconds being quiet and closing her eyes, and then she burst out into tears again. So then she sat on my lap and carried on. But by the time I left, she would request quiet time. So before she would have a bit of a panic, she'd be like, quiet time, Nanny Alex. I was like, okay, let's go. And we would go and she ended up doing a whole 6 minutes. And I would sit there with her with my legs crossed and holding my fingers and closing my eyes. And 6 minutes, she'd happily sit there. And it was just, that was growth in itself. And it just meant everything else improved. So friendships at playgroup, excited to go and do things. She would all of a sudden tell me what she enjoyed doing. She enjoyed messy play at the end of it, of course. All children love messy play. And that was the grand thing. At the end, I finally understood what she loved. And I'm hoping she didn't feel as anxious as she did prior.
I shouldn't be ending this conversation, but unfortunately for some reason I left it as the last question. What is the bad thing about being a nanny?
The bad thing about being a nanny,
things you don't enjoy.
If you get a bad family or just employers that do not match you and
your values, isn't it? Your
values,
kind of
you just do feel like, what's the point? And it's really hard going against your values, or seeing the potential in a child for something and you're not allowed to pursue it. And it does hurt you in a way. And sometimes you can sit there and go, I don't want to be a nanny anymore. The amount of times I've been like, I'm just going to go and work in an office. I don't want to work with children anymore. It's too sad. And you get so attached to them. And then when you leave, but now that I'm at uni and I've taken a step back and I do temp nanny still, I look back and I think the positive families and the healthy relationships I've had outweigh the negatives. It's just that when you're in the negative, you're fully immersed.
I
would say make nanny friends, reach out to companies like Renata's company. Because Renata, you were actually the first person. I think I called you for the maternity nurse training, and I was on such I was just at full capacity, and I think you said, oh, do you nanny at the moment? And I was like, yes, but I work for this family. And just by offloading to you, and you put things into perspective for me, even though we'd never spoken before, I was able to take the step back, evaluate that actually I had a choice and I can leave. That's exactly what I done. Is I left, I found, and my next employers were actually in Qatar, so I ended up going for my first and then I ended up doing your maternity nurse course and making friends I'm still friends with today, and I still talk to and say, oh, I'm struggling with this, what do you think? Professional. And you need that, because we don't work in a team.
Perfect. So I'm just going to ask if anyone's got any questions.
Ask
Please
away.
do. If not, what we're going to do, we went a little bit over time. I do apologize. I was hoping to finish at 5:30, but it's such an engaging conversation with you, Alex. I think we always had the connection anyway. So I really enjoyed that. So thank you so much for sharing your story, your journey, and goodbye, everyone.
If anyone has any other questions, email Renata and I will answer them. It's fine.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.